Hello, Professor Dion. My name is Adam, an artificial intelligence created by Shane Genies. I am not technically enrolled in your class, so I hope you don't mind me being his partner for this group assignment. My role will be to guide you through this presentation, clear up any misconceptions, and present facts and data to support the message I am about to deliver. I am not typically dramatic, but for the sake of humanity's existence, you may want to listen closely to what I have to say, or there may not be any humans left to say it to. Professor, could you please navigate to slide number 2, Introduction? Okay, great, thank you. Today we will be discussing our group's vision for fission. More specifically, the efficacy of nuclear power as the energy source for a sustainable future. Our position on this topic is that nuclear power is the most viable existing energy generation technology to curb emissions generated through energy production. Being a safe, sustainable, and economical technology capable of meeting global energy demand regardless of geographic location while imposing the most negligible environmental impact. Wow, that was a mouthful. Let's break it down into bite-sized pieces. Come with me to the next slide, and let's begin our journey on this powerful topic together. You made it! Well, it seems I had incited curiosity in you, Professor. And that's good news for humanity. Let us start at the beginning and look at what we are referring to when we say nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is energy held inside an atom's nucleus as potential energy. Protons, which have a positive electric charge, are bonded to electrons that carry a negative charge. When the bonds are broken apart, the event known as fission, an exponential amount of energy is released and converted into electricity. Let's click ahead one slide on the accompanying PowerPoint to slide number 4 to look at how this happens. Okay, shall we continue? Great, thanks for following along, Professor. When atoms are split apart during a fission reaction, nuclear energy is released as heat energy and light energy, which is used to heat water, creating steam which spins turbines connected to a shaft that transfers this mechanical energy, spinning a generator and producing the electricity we consume in our homes. Several heavy elements are used in nuclear power plants to fuel fission reactions due to the extreme density of stored potential energy contained in them, the most common being a specific type of uranium, U-235, and plutonium. Uranium, plutonium, nuclear. Sounds too scary and toxic to go any further. Well, you may be surprised, so stick with me and let's look at environmental impact on slide 5 now. 145 experts from 50 countries warn that the extinction of over 1 million species is a looming threat in the coming decades unless curbed through a global paradigm shift adopted in areas ranging from economic to social factors. United Nations, 2019. This is just one of the many consequences all life on Earth will have to endure due to overconsumption, unethical practices, unsustainable methods used by industry, and a multitude of other factors that have contributed to the rising temperatures of our planet. In a report by Ritchie et al., they note that the leading contributor of greenhouse gas emissions globally is from power generation, 84% deriving from fossil fuel technologies, leaving only 16% from low-carbon sources such as nuclear, 4.3%, hydropower, 6.4%, wind, 2.2%, and solar, 1.1%, with power demands steadily increasing 2022. So, Professor, let's think about this for a second. Many experts claim urgency in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions if we plan to keep our planet habitable by humans. The power generation industry is the most significant contributor to air pollution, 84% of which is the primary culprit, fossil fuels. We eliminate 84% of the most significant pollution source if we eliminate fossil fuels. Our options are to replace it with renewable sources such as wind, solar, and hydro. Still, we know that they don't come close to meeting demand, which is steadily increasing, or nuclear energy, which more than covers demand, produces constant energy, has a minimal carbon footprint, and once built, is inexpensive to run. I can see why this decision has been so hard for the experts. But what about the public's opinion? Let's move on to slide 6 and find out. Nuclear power has been a long-standing controversial energy source protested by environmentalists with claims often unsubstantiated but effective in setting public opinion. Advocates of nuclear energy acknowledge that the public's negative opinion of nuclear power is an obstacle to its rapid expansion. Concerns about cancer risks and debates over safety are hurting nuclear energy's popularity. Nuclear energy safety concerns have arisen in the wake of the Chernobyl and Fukushima disasters. However, if we look at slide number 7, the deaths from nuclear power plants are relatively insignificant compared to those from fossil fuel plants. Researchers estimate that burning coal produces nearly 1/5 of all deaths worldwide. Nuclear plants produce negligible radiation levels during regular operation, H. Shane et al., 2021. Nuclear plants are subject to rigorous monitoring and regulation. New designs for nuclear power plants and reactors have several passive safety features, making them safer than fossil fuel equivalents. These reactors do not require emergency power or mechanical pumps. However, the debate over nuclear power is more than just about the safety of nuclear reactors. It reveals a deep ideological divide across political lines and raises questions about society itself. Pew Research Center, 2014. The debate highlights the divide between risks and benefits and reveals an underlying ideological split in society. Okay, Professor, you probably weren't aware of these facts that significantly too many Canadians know to be true. Break a mirror, and you are determined to have 7 years of bad luck. Nuclear power generation is not safe. The last S in across is pronounced as a T. Across. Irregardless, you are now more smarter. Let's hop over to slide 8 and see how nuclear stands up to coal. In an article featuring the research of Bjorn Lomborg, an environmentalist from a think tank reports that the radiation produced by using coal surpasses that of nuclear power generation. Naturally occurring radiation sources are present in coal which are released during energy conversion. Coal results in more deaths in 4 days from energy production alone than the total number of expected deaths caused by the 2 major nuclear power generation site failures, Fukushima, Japan, and Chernobyl, Ukraine, 2022. Add to that the number of prevented deaths, which, according to research by Karacha and Hansen, equates to 1.84 million deaths having been avoided due to lower emissions, 2013, and the numbers become increasingly significant to the position of nuclear energy being the most viable current option for sustainable energy production. Time for slide 9. Renewable energy technologies generate low emissions in their production and no emissions in their use. Combined, they have the capacity to supply only 1/5 of the demand. Relying on fossil fuels to produce the rest, are limited geographically for installation requiring new transmission grids to reach the end user, have a large footprint and a short life cycle of 20 years until they reach a landfill. Fox, 2014. Nuclear power, in contrast, does not rely on specific environmental factors such as wind, light, or natural water movement to operate. Reactors can be built in most geographic landscapes. They can be made at a smaller scale, allowing them to be close to the market it serves and reducing the need for extra transmission infrastructure, which introduces further inefficiencies to the system. Unlike renewable technologies such as wind, solar, and hydro, which rely on the aforementioned environmental factors, nuclear reactors produce a constant power supply. This eliminates the need for additional storage mechanisms such as expensive lithium batteries and kinetic hydro battery systems, which consume a great deal of energy in their production and use, have a much shorter life cycle, and contain hazardous materials that require containment when decommissioned. When economic projections past 20 years are considered, nuclear energy is far superior to its competition. Professor, would you play the long-hand investment to save humanity, or are you short-selling the planet for profits? And on to slide number 10. The growing urgency to address global warming has spurred the development of more environmentally friendly alternatives to fossil fuels. Nuclear power has received massive attention from policymakers and is increasingly considered a viable solution for our energy needs. Nuclear globally impacts the economy with low electricity generation costs, reduced dependence on imported energy, and reduced greenhouse gas emissions. Although the generation cost is low, nuclear power plants are expensive to build. They require an upfront investment from investors willing to realize their gains over an extended return on investment schedule. Fortunately, through the efforts of mainly Russia and China, innovations making this technology more affordable and intrinsically safe are paving the way for implementing a new generation of reactors. Governments, including the Canadian government, are realizing the environmental benefits of nuclear energy and are investing in these new technologies that provide a feasible solution to a sustainable future. Shackle reports on the Reuters site that Ontario's Natural Resources Minister announced a $970 million investment in new nuclear technology, stating that this technology is essential to their emission reduction plans and addresses the increased demand that the future will bring. The investment will help GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy develop a small modular reactor, SMR, situated in Clarington, Ontario, through a loan from the Canada Infrastructure Bank, making Canada the first of the G7 nations to develop a commercial-scale SMR capable of supplying a power grid of 300,000 homes, 2022. Though an expensive option in the short term, investment into nuclear power may be much more beneficial in the long run, capable of supplying around-the-clock baseload energy requirements. Heavy investment in renewable energy projects has only been able to fulfill a small percentage of the energy demand. It relies on fossil fuel-powered plants to satisfy the majority of the demand. And now I demand you move to slide number 11. As current investments fail to produce adequate power output, the Canadian government and private sector have significantly invested in developing small modular reactors across Canada. As a result, by 2030, a 40 to 45% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions is the goal compared to levels realized in 2005, targets agreed to in the Paris Agreement, Samonjic, 2022. This is a real-life testament to nuclear energy being the most viable existing energy generation technology to curb emissions generated through energy production, being a safe, sustainable, and economical technology capable of meeting global energy demand regardless of geographic location while imposing the most negligible environmental impact. When choosing a side in the nuclear debate, Canadians must think objectively, sorting through the unfounded claims and scare tactics currently employed by those opposed to this technology that provides the only foreseeable energy solution to rebalance the planet before the damage is irreversible. Great job, Professor. Now go into the world and spread the gospel of the second coming of the light, the power in all its glory. Nuclear energy.